Stoicism Relationships. There was once a man who fell deeply in love. At first, every word from his beloved was like music, every smile like the warmth of morning sunlight after a long winter night. His heart rose and fell with her attention. When she was kind, his spirit soared as though he could conquer the world. When she grew cold, his peace crumbled into dust. Soon he realized his happiness no longer belonged to him. It belonged to her moods, her choices, her presence or absence. He had handed over his freedom without even knowing it. The ancient Stoics observed this same pattern everywhere in human life. They saw how people tied their peace to others so tightly that a harsh word or a single betrayal could ruin them. They never told us to stop loving. Love, to them, was part of being human. But they warned us, love guided only by passion and attachment can enslave us. Love guided by wisdom, however, can set us free. For the Stoics, every relationship begins with a truth so simple, yet so often forgotten. You cannot control another person. You cannot dictate their feelings, their desires, or their fate. You can inspire them with your example, offer them kindness, or share your time, but you cannot own them. Epictetus compared human connections to travelers who meet in an inn. You may share a table, break bread together, laugh at stories by the fire, but when the time comes for one to leave, you cannot cling to their cloak and demand they stay. To love wisely is to love without chains. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that people will fail. They will forget, they will hurt you, sometimes without even intending to. If you expect perfection, you will always be disappointed. But if you remember that they are human, just as flawed, just as fragile as you will find patience. Imagine a partner who lashes out in anger during a stressful day, or a friend who forgets an important promise. The Stoic does not collapse into despair or respond with cruelty. Instead, they pause and ask, have I not failed before? Have I not spoken in anger? Have I not forgotten? This humility turns resentment into compassion and keeps love steady even when storms arise. But Stoicism does not mean passivity. It does not command us to stay in harmful relationships or silently accept cruelty. Rather, it tells us to live by our own standards, no matter what others do. Marcus Aurelius advised, be strict with yourself and tolerant with others. You cannot control whether someone is just, but you can control whether you are. You cannot force them to be honest, but you can remain truthful. In relationships, this means leading by example. If your partner is careless, you remain responsible. If your friend is bitter, you remain kind. Your values are yours alone, not conditions you impose on others. Seneca offered perhaps the most sobering reminder about love. He wrote that when you kiss your child, whisper to yourself, they may not be here tomorrow. To modern ears, this may sound cruel, even heartless. But Seneca's purpose was not to weaken love, but to intensify it. When you accept that nothing is guaranteed, every moment becomes precious. The laughter of a friend, the hand of a lover in yours, the sight of your child running to greet you, all of it shines brighter when you remember how fragile it is. Gratitude grows when you see clearly that everything you love is temporary. Instead of clinging in fear, you begin to cherish in freedom. So much of our pain in relationships comes not from reality, but from imagination. We torment ourselves with what ifs. What if they leave me? What if they betray me? What if I lose them? These thoughts rob us of peace long before anything has even happened. Epictetus warned against this, and Seneca put it simply, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. How many nights of peace are stolen by fears that never come true. And when they do, our suffering is no less, but greater, for we have already lived it 100 times in our minds. The Stoic answer is to stay in the present moment, to love without fear of tomorrow, and to face loss if it comes, calmly, bravely, and without regret. The Stoics also taught that while love is beautiful, it must never replace the foundation of your peace. If your partner stays, you rejoice. If they go, you grieve. But you do not collapse, because your dignity, your character, and your freedom are yours alone. Epictetus said, no man is free who is not master of himself. In love, This means you give yourself fully, but never lose yourself completely. You remain whole, even if your relationship changes or ends. Marcus Aurelius used the image of a stone thrown into the air. The stone gains nothing by rising, loses nothing by falling, it remains the same. In the same way, whether love brings joy or sorrow, whether relationships flourish or fade, you remain grounded. This is not indifference. It is resilience. You are capable of celebrating love without becoming a slave to it, and of facing heartbreak without being destroyed. To love as the Stoics loved is to love with open hands. It is to let go of illusions of control and to embrace others as they are, not as you demand them to be. It is to forgive without weakness, to cherish without clinging, to accept flaws without bitterness. It is to remember that the people you love are mortal and free, just as you are. And above all, it is to protect your peace so that your love is not fragile, but steady, strong, and enduring. This way of loving is not colder than ordinary love. It is warmer, richer, and more present. It is not love that denies emotion, but love that transforms it into something unshakable. It is the love of someone who knows that nothing lasts forever and so treasures every heartbeat, every laugh, every fleeting moment of closeness. And when the moment passes, as it must, the Stoic does not break. They carry the memory as a gift, grateful that it happened at all. Stoic learns to anchor themselves in the present moment, to enjoy the love they have today, instead of poisoning it with what-ifs. To the Stoics, true love is not about dependency. If your partner leaves you, your grief is natural, but your life does not end. If your friend betrays you, your trust is broken, but your dignity remains. Because the foundation of your peace is not another person, it is your own character. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." In relationships, this means you love deeply, but without surrendering your freedom. You give, but without losing yourself. You remain whole, even when others fail. Think of a rock tossed into the air, as Marcus Aurelius described. The rock gains nothing by rising, loses nothing by falling. It remains what it is. In the same way, whether relationships bring joy or sorrow, the Stoic remains steady. This does not mean indifference. It means resilience. You can celebrate love when it comes, and you can endure loss when it leaves. You remain grounded, unbroken, because your worth is not borrowed from others. The Stoic way of love is simple but difficult. It asks you to love without clinging, to forgive without weakness, to cherish without fearing loss. It asks you to be grateful for every moment, to lead by example, to remember that those you love are mortal and free. And above all, it asks you to hold your peace as something sacred, never to be surrendered, even in the most passionate bonds. This kind of love is not colder than ordinary love. It is warmer, deeper, more present. It is the love of someone who knows that nothing lasts forever, and therefore loves all the more while it does.